Hi everybody, and welcome to video 2 of our strategic goal setting and life design 3-part series. In our last video 1 of the series, I talked about why most people fail at goal setting. Not because they're lazy, not because they're broken, but because they were taught a system that doesn't work. Today, I want to go a little bit deeper because the real reason you don't follow through is not motivation, it's not discipline, and it's not willpower. It's the identity and system you're operating from. And once you see this, you'll never try to change your life the same way again. So most people think the problem is I don't try hard enough. But the real problem is I'm trying to build a new future with an old identity and a broken system. You're trying to install new goals into an old operating system, and the system always wins. You don't fail because you lack desire. You fail because you lack the systems for identity level change. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems and your identity. So let's start by looking at willpower. Psychology shows willpower is a finite cognitive resource. It draws from the same mental energy you use for decision making, emotional regulation, focus, and self-control, which means the more stress, fatigue, emotion, and decisions you have in your day, the less willpower you have left. So this is why people start strong in the morning and collapse at night. This is why motivation works on day 1 but fails on day 12. Willpower is not a strategy, it's an emergency reserve. High performers do not rely on willpower. They design their goals in life, so willpower is really needed. So now let's look at identity. In neuroscience and psychology, identity is not a personality label. It is a self-schema, a set of unconscious beliefs about who you are, what you are capable of, what feels normal for you, what feels like you. Your brain is wired to protect this identity, even if it is limiting for you, because your nervous system values familiarity over growth. So if your identity says, I'm inconsistent, I'm someone who quits, I'm not disciplined, I always fall off, your brain will quietly steer you back to that pattern. Not because you want to fail, but because your nervous system wants safety. Now let's look lastly at systems. A system is not a schedule. A system is the structure that decides what happens when motivation is gone. A real system includes environment, triggers, default behaviors, reflection loops, and accountability loops. Most people don't have systems, they have intentions. And intention without structure collapses under pressure. So here's the loop that actually runs your life, the identity system loop. So it starts with identity, then behavior, then results, and then reinforced identity. And this is the shift high performers make. They stop asking, what do I want to achieve? And start asking, who do I need to become? And how do I support that identity daily? Because identity drives behavior, behavior creates results, results reinforce identity. So it's a loop. If you do not redesign the identity and the system, the loop resets back to who you were. So this is why people lose weight and regain it, build momentum, then experience self-sabotage, start businesses, burn out, commit to goals, and then quietly quit. not because they lack desire, but because the loop was never redesigned. However, once you design that loop intentionally, momentum becomes natural. So this is why many high performers use an identity-first approach to behavior change. So instead of relying on willpower and focusing solely on outcomes, they focus on building the identity of the person who achieves the outcomes they wish to achieve. So here are some examples. Michael Phelps, multi-gold winning swimming Olympian who built his life around a routine identity and not motivation. During his competitive years, Phelps' identity was tightly linked to the highly structured, regimented routine of his training, which included swimming over 80,000 meters a week and daily mental rehearsals. This extreme consistency removed the need to rely on finite willpower, allowing the habits to become automatic and leading to his extraordinary Olympic results. So his approach focused on process goals, so daily actions and discipline, rather than just outcome goals, medals, and records. This mindset helped him to trust the process and not be overwhelmed by pressure or have to rely on willpower. Now, James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. He rebuilt his life after a traumatic injury that left him having to relearn how to walk by redesigning identity first, then habits second. So Clear's philosophy developed during this time. So the philosophy he developed during this time is that true behavior change is identity change. He argued that every action you take is like a vote for the type of person you wish to become. So his recovery focused on answering the question, who do I want to become, rather than what do I want to achieve? Specifically, he started with an identity of being an athlete and a successful student and designing his habits to match that identity. His personal journey saw him travel from a life-threatening injury to a top-performing student athlete over a period of 6 years by using small actions compounded over time. Now let's look at someone else we may know, Jerry Seinfeld. So he's the comedian who created the highly successful sitcom series Seinfeld, and he is famous for his don't break the chain method for writing jokes. He committed to the identity of a writer who writes every day, marking a large X on a calendar for each day he worked. The goal wasn't just to have a great joke at the end of the day, but to embody the identity of a consistently working comedian, which ultimately led to his immense success. Last example, Dave Brailsford, the British cycling coach. So Brailsford transformed British cycling by focusing on marginal gains and a core identity of continuous improvement. He wasn't just trying to win races, the outcome. He was creating a team of athletes who constantly get 1% better every day. So this was the identity. People or athletes who constantly get 1% better every day. This involved tiny improvements in every area with regards to cycling, all of which reinforced the new identity, and the end result was numerous Olympic gold medals. So elite performers don't rely on feeling inspired, on feeling disciplined, feeling confident, or having willpower. Instead, they talk about who I am, who I want to become, how do I become who I want to become? And they rely on habits, rituals, tracking, reflection, accountability, and environment design. Because they understand identity plus systems determines outcomes. They design success into their life. They make it easier to do the right thing and harder to fall back into old patterns. And here's how this looked in my own life. I would set ambitious goals. I would start strong. I would push, and then I would drift. Not because I didn't care, but because my life structure still matched my old identity. My days, habits, environment, and boundaries were still designed for the person I used to be. So I was asking a new future to live inside of an old life. The breakthrough came when I stopped asking, how do I try harder? How do I do more? And started asking, who is it I want to become if I want to achieve this in my life? And then how do I redesign my life to support who I want to become? So that is when progress stopped feeling fragile and started feeling stable. And it's this that saw me move from a failed business at 35K in debt to growing a 7-figure international trade business. So if you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. To change any goal, you must redesign 3 things. Firstly, identity. Who must I become to live this goal naturally? Secondly, system. What must my environment, routines, and defaults look like? And thirdly, loop. How will I review, adjust, and reinforce weekly? Goals fail when any of these are missing. So now let me give you a couple of practices that will immediately bring this home and in turn change how you see yourself. So for this first practice, you want to be taking about 60 seconds. So ask yourself, who do I say I want to be? Then write your answer to this question. I see myself as someone who, and then fill the blank. Now ask, who do my daily habits and actions say I'm becoming? Then write, my daily actions and habits show I'm someone who, and fill the blank. Now look at the difference. If these 2 answers don't match, that gap is where change must begin. Not with more motivation or willpower, but with better design. That gap is not your failure. That gap is your design problem. And once you see it, you can finally change it. Now, second exercise. Take one goal you keep on failing at. So write firstly, old version. I want to, then specify the goal. Now I want you to change how you express this. I want you to write it as an identity. I am becoming the type of person who, and then specify the goal you're trying to achieve. Now I want you to write one system shift. To support that identity, I will change and then specify a system shift in my environment or routine. So here's an example. Your old goal may have been, I want to exercise more. Identity, the new way you'll express this goal from an identity base. I am becoming someone who respects their body. And then the system, my workout clothes are laid out the night before and my phone alarm is labeled future me. So this is not motivation. This is not willpower. This is design. I'm designing to become the person who achieves this goal. Some people hear this and think, but I've tried systems before. My reply to them is, no, you tried schedules, you tried discipline, you did not redesign your identity and your behaviors and environment and loop. Others think, I don't have time. But the reality is you don't need more time. You need less friction. Others think this sounds complex. Well, to them, I have to say, well, it's certainly a lot simpler than failure. So imagine setting a goal now and knowing exactly how it'll be supported. Imagine no longer asking, will I follow through, but asking, how will I refine my system this week? Imagine your goals no longer feeling fragile, but engineered and designed. In the next video, I'll show you how to design identity-based goals, how to build habits that do not rely on willpower, how to structure 90 days for real change, how to turn intention into execution, and how strategic goal setting and life design actually works step by step. Not theory, a framework, a design, a process, because motivation fades, willpower depletes, but design lasts. And in this video, you'll learn how to design your life and the goals to create this life. Before you go, I want you to comment under this video, I am becoming someone who, then fill the blank. So make it an identity. Because the moment you declare your new identity, the person who you're becoming, your brain starts to reorganize around it. So I'll see you in a couple of days with my third video in this video masterclass series, which will teach you strategic goal setting and life design. So see you in a couple of days.